And welcome back to the Standard Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Chris. John will not be joining me on this episode either today or for our Saturday episode for our starts and sits. He is traveling, but you can tune in with me. I'm going to give you all the little nuggets on the starts, sits, and sleepers here tonight. And then we are going to be dropping the Saturday episode where I'll go through the entire slate, including the primetime games and all the start, sits, and sleepers, and all the advice for the weekends. Before we get rolling through, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification button just to stay tuned for all of our dropping content. Remember, we do a Tuesday morning waivers for the upcoming week. We do a Thursday morning preview for the Thursday night game. And then on Saturday morning, grab your cup of joe, sit down with the kids, and listen to the entire slate of starts and sits just to get your advice, especially coming from me. I got a 3-0 start, and I'm still waiting on Kamara, still waiting on Cooper Kupp to come back. My team's not even at full strength yet. But we'll keep rolling through. We got the Thursday night game between the Lions and the Packers. It should be a good one. It's a divisional matchup. We should be getting some people back in this game. So for the Packers, David Bakhtiari is going to be out, but we have Aaron Jones and Christian Watson that did return to practice. Christian Watson is still going to be a game time decision. It looks like he's going to go, and it looks like Aaron Jones is going to go, which is good news for this rushing attack. But we'll go ahead and we're going to get started with the Lions. Okay, so I'll put it up on the screen here just so you guys can see, but we got Jared Goff as a start. Jared Goff has been impressive so far. He's thrown for 819 yards in the season, 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He has 20-plus completions and 240-plus yards in every game. The big thing is for him is he going to throw more than 1 touchdown? In week 2, he had 3 touchdowns. The other 2 weeks, he had only 1 touchdown. So is he going to get the air yardage and the air touchdowns to be able to produce? David Montgomery is still going to be a no-go for this game, so we do have him as a sit. So let's talk about Jahmyr Gibbs really quick. So we have him listed as a start. Last week, he did look pretty good. So he had 17 rushes, 80 yards. He's yet to find the end zone so far. However, on 16.1% of his runs, he has gone for 12 or more yards. He has been explosive when they got the ball in his hands. Now, the problem is he going to get enough volume to be able to sustain this throughout the season? We would think that when David Montgomery's not in, that Jahmyr Gibbs is going to have the bigger games. And yeah, he had 80 yards, and but he wasn't really targeted in the receiving game that much, especially in this game. We saw in week 2 when Montgomery did get hurt in that game that he was getting targeted much more. He only had 1 reception, 2 targets last week. And so that's not enough as PR side. His value is what we thought was going to be getting targets out of the backfield and be a receiver. We still have him as a start just because it's a really good play. Especially against the rushing defense of the Green Bay Packers. The Packers, they have let up 300 yards in 3 games to running backs, including a touchdown, and they've let up 20 receptions for 149 yards. So I do think this is actually going to be a bigger Jahmyr Gibbs day. I would go ahead and fire him up in any format, okay? I think he's in line for a good week. Moving on, we got Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's going to be an obvious start. You got to start your studs. My big concern with him, though, is he hasn't scored since week 1. He's been really good so far. Last week, he was 9 for 11, 102 yards. He's at 102 yards in each of the past 2 games. So got to love the production out of that. PPR, he's crushing. But we'd love to see him get into the end zone a little bit more. Now, Josh Reynolds, our darling waiver wire ad from last week, got just completely shut out last week. So we saw him have 0 targets and 0 receptions. So he's going to be a sit for us. The Packers defense versus wide receiver, they're the 5th best against wide receivers in the league. They've only allowed 373 yards and only 2 touchdowns to wide receivers. So we have to assume that that's going to be coming against, Amon-Ra is going to get a lot of the volume of that. We also like Sam Laporta this week, as you can kind of see as we move down the chart. Sam Laporta is going to be a start for us. So I do like Sam Laporta a little bit more. I think that against the tight ends, the Packers are a little bit more mediocre. They've let up 126 yards and a touchdown on the season versus tight ends versus against wide receivers, where they've pretty much locked wide receivers down. I do think Amon-Ra is in line for the better game. But Khalif Raymond, he's not up on the screen, but he would be a sleeper for this game. He's looked pretty good in the last couple of weeks. And even though I do like Reynolds as kind of a bounce back candidate this week, I'm going to go ahead and sit him. Again, I think there are some really good matchups this week for wide receiver. So you don't need to go and start Reynolds if you don't need to. I think Amon-Ra is going to be the only wide receiver I feel comfortable starting for the Detroit Lions. But Sam Laporta, go ahead and smash him. He has had 5 catches in each of the last 3 games. In the first 3 games to start the season, he's just getting volume. So you got to love that, especially from the tight end position. The guy in our league has Sam Laporta and Travis Kelce. And, for a lot of guys out there, he's a great – for me, I probably would try to go and trade for him, but I don't know if I necessarily need to. I like Hunter Henry. I got a soft spot for a guy that just gets in the end zone. So the Detroit Lions defense, we're going to go ahead and sit them. They've actually been pretty good. So they have been really good against running backs, shutting them down. They've been really good actually against wide receivers. They're number 3 against running backs. They're number 6 against wide receivers. They've only let up 4 passing touchdowns on the season. The problem is they've only had 2 turnovers on the season. So they had 7 sacks last week. I know everyone was looking at that game. They're like, oh, this defense is good. They had 1 sack in the first 2 games, then 7 last week. They had 1 fumble recovery last week, but they only have had 1 interception on the season and 1 fumble recovery on the season. So I don't love them in this matchup, and I do think that Jordan Love and the Packers are a tougher team offensively. So I don't like them this week. I'm going to have to go ahead and sit them. So let's move on to the Packers, okay? So I'll go ahead and pop it up on the screen. We got Jordan Love as a start, okay? Jordan Love has had 26 points in 3 straight weeks. He's an absolute start in this divisional game. Even though last week he only threw and had 50% completion, he threw for 259 yards and a touchdown, but he also added 39 yards rushing and had a rushing touchdown. He's been probably the biggest surprise at quarterback this year so far. There was a lot of question marks. We thought he looked good in the preseason. We thought there was all the weapons and the young team around him. We didn't know how he was going to really look coming into the season. But through the first 3 weeks, he's looked really poised in there. He's looked really good. He's a number 4 quarterback in fantasy right now in standard leagues and 6-point touchdown leagues too. Let me go ahead and say that. So in a good matchup against a fairly mediocre defense overall, I would go ahead and start him. Aaron Jones is going to start. I'm going to start him. I think after the week 1 performance, how heavily involved he was, that I want to go and start him. And the running game for this team has looked atrocious since then. A.J. Dillon hasn't mustered anything up. Another disappointing. There's been a lot of these guys where like the starters gotten injured and the backups come in. Josh Kelly's another one. A.J. Dillon's one. Jahmyr Gibbs even, he's been a lot better than Dillon and Kelly, but they had really good performances in the first week with the starter, and then they get the starting role and they've just completely just fallen off and haven't been productive in that. Even though the Lions are the 3rd best against the run, I still really like them here. I still really like Aaron Jones, especially how involved he is in the passing game. The Lions have been susceptible. They've allowed 15 receptions and 117 yards to running backs as out of the backfield. So I do like Aaron Jones as both. I think he's good for 100 all-purpose, and he'll probably fall into the end zone. Now, Christian Watson is probably going to be a go. I'm going to sit him regardless. I just think that there is, even if he's healthy, it's got to be a wait and see. I know CBS kind of posted the same sentiment. Heath with CBS posted this today. I just think with Musgrave, Reeves, Dobbs looking solid out there, it's hard to say what Watson's really going to look like and what his impact is going to be in his first week back. There are better plays out there. I know you're risking sitting a guy that can put up points. This isn't a guy I really was a high believer in anyway, so I'm fine leaving like 15, 20 point performance on the bench if I have another good play out there. But I'd rather wait and see what he's going to look like, what the usage is going to look like before throwing him out there and starting him in his first week back from an injury. Romeo Dobbs is going to be my start here. He's looked really good. He's gotten red zone targets. He's a big red zone target for Jordan Love. And you really have to love what you've seen from him so far. He's had 3 touchdowns on the season. He did have 2 in one game. Last week had 12 targets, only caught 5 of them, but had 73 yards and a touchdown. His target share has been great. And even when Jones and Watson return, he should be utilized, especially into the red zone. He seems like he's going to be a favorite target. And then Luke Musgrave, he's labeled here as a sit. That is a mistake. My bad, guys. I should have went back and edited it. He is going to be a start. Not a sleeper. He's going to be a full-on start. He is going against the worst tight end defense in the league. They've been absolutely shredded. 263 yards in 3 games and a touchdown allowed to the tight end position. Luke Musgrave has been involved in this offense. I do like him a lot here. I do think last week he was 6 for 8. He had 8 targets, 49 yards. I get that there might be some better options out there. I get that there might be some better stream plays, but he's going up against a really bad defense against the tight ends. And if they're susceptible to anything, like I said, they're number 3 against running backs. They're number 5, number 5 or number 6 against wide receivers. So if they're susceptible to anyone, it's going to be tight ends. So you got to love the matchup play. I like Ryan Musgrave out there, so disregard the image. He is going to be a start for us, and then this defense is going to be a sit for us. So that rounds out our week 4 Thursday night preview of all of our starts and sits and sleepers. I know the one sleeper I got for you this game is going to be Khalif Raymond. Jaden Reed is another guy that I think. Christian Watson coming back, he's still going to be involved, but if Watson goes, I'd probably still sit him. I don't know if the upside is there to start him and go into sleeper. Like we've said, the wide receiver position is really deep this year. So I think a lot of the sleepers that you're going to see are going to be kind of flyers. And if you're in a position where you need to kind of chuck a dart out there, you probably have some better options that you can go and even attack on your waiver wire. So make sure you guys tune in on Saturday where we'll go through the full slate. Again, it'll just be me, so hope you enjoy my face. I'll try to get some images up there so you guys don't have to continuously look at me. I know I got the face for radio. It's wonderful. But make sure you guys tune in. Don't forget, like and subscribe. I'll try to get some timestamps out there, so if you guys want to skip ahead, just check out the Lions or just check out the Packers, you guys can go ahead and do that. Until next time, I will catch you guys later.